Welcome to Spam Filter for Your Brain, bite-sized ponderings on how our thoughts influence our behaviour and our lives, and because we're all connected, how our thoughts impact the world. I'm here to help people reconnect with their bodies and declutter their brains. And I don't believe that we should just magically know how our emotions and our thoughts impact our lives if no one ever teaches us. So let's learn this stuff together. Do you believe that confidence is just something that some people have and some people don't have? I imagine if you're in the latter camp there, that you're probably also someone who thinks that they just happen to be someone who might not have it. Just looking at the way that we treat confidence as an external object that is bestowed upon particular humans, I think can be a really interesting way of us looking and assessing how we feel about ourselves, how we speak about ourselves, and how we conduct ourselves out in the wider world. What can be really interesting, I think, about this sort of externalizing of what we think confidence is that when we think that it's something out there, that the lucky people win with the lottery tickets, and perhaps we were not one of those people, we can also think that it's something that is sort of given to us rather than something that comes from within. Confidence is an emotion, and that emotion comes from our thoughts. And this knowledge can be really liberating because we can choose what we think. I'm sure if you've listened to a few of these other episodes, you know that this is my theory, that we can choose what we think. But it can be easier to say than it is to put into practice, for sure. But it is a practice. And if you have some sort of abstract thought that you haven't come across particularly often in your life, let's say a log cabin that's made of purple smoke, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Probably best not question that. The first time you hear it, you might think that's just a ridiculous clump of word salad. That's not a real thing. But if you were to spend 5 minutes a day thinking, a log cabin made of purple smoke. A log cabin made of purple smoke. Sing it to yourself, make up a little jig to it as you're doing the washing up. Maybe write it out a few times like Bart Simpson on the whiteboard, on the blackboard, on the open titles. You know what I mean. Maybe you could do a cross stitch of a log cabin made of purple smoke. After a few times or a few days or a few years, depending on how ingrained the thought is, you can start sort of linking these neurons in your brain with each time you think it. I imagine it to be a bit like putting a tiny bit of spider's web between the two electricity poles, and it's creating some sort of tiny little thread of connection. And the more that you repeat the thought, the more there is a connection between these 2 points in your brain. And that all might sound like a weird thing because you might not want to think of a log cabin made of purple smoke in the woods. But what if that thought was something a bit more useful, like, I'm confident in the decisions that I make, or I'm confident in my body, or I'm confident that I can make new friends easily. These thoughts may also initially sound like word salad, or you may have a whole load of other thoughts that bubble up like, that's all very well for other people, or that's not me, that's not the kind of thing that I would think. But actually, we can train our brain to think whatever we want to. And what's magical about creating new thoughts by choice, on purpose, with diligence and continued effort, is that the more that we practice these thoughts, the more that we get to associate them with ourselves, and the more that we get to feel the reactions to these thoughts within our bodies. So if, for example, you have a very well practiced thought like, I'm just not a confident person, that's probably going to lead you to some feelings along the lines of feeling quite insecure, feeling very vulnerable, feeling a bit anxious maybe, feeling quite exposed, probably feeling quite unsafe. Whereas if you spent some time practicing a thought like, I'm someone who's willing to try to have some confidence, or perhaps I'm someone who would like to have more confidence, or perhaps something like, there are some areas of my life where I feel quite confident. All of those thoughts get you very different emotions, and all of these thoughts become slightly more accessible the more that we practice them. So rather than thinking of confidence as just something outside of us, or something that other people get with luck of the draw, luck of genetics, luck of family, societal circumstances, what kind of things would you like to be moving more towards that would help you feel more safe in your life, in your body, in your surroundings, in your relationships? Where could you bring more confidence to the way that you feel about yourself? And what are some of these thoughts that you think could get you there? If you'd like to learn more about how to do some of this stuff, I'd be delighted to help. And if you just want to make a little salad bowl of thoughts that you want to dip into and have a little snack on whenever you feel like you need to get your own little boost, the more often we practice these things, the more they become available to us. I'm wishing you confidence for your week. I'm wishing you thoughts that guide you there in gentle steps that don't feel out of reach. And I'm wishing you much self-care. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast here, I would love to invite you to Self-Care School. Self-Care School is a membership site where we have group coaching calls every week. We have a whole load of courses that you can dip into for whatever suits your needs. We have courses on confidence, body image, timekeeping, how to manage big emotions, overwhelm, loads and loads of stuff in there. You can kind of pick out whatever you want to work on. There is a big library of workbooks, which includes journal prompts and questions for you to be able to apply this work to your own life. And we have the most amazing community where people support each other. We learn from each other, and you get to work alongside people with quite often very different life situations to your own, and we learn so much together in community. If you would like some more of this, please do hop over to selfcareschool.co.uk.